Good evening, everyone. Welcome to COS Indiana Live. My name is Dale Parrish. I'm the virtual program coordinator for Convention of States here in Indiana. And with me this evening is my co-host, Mr. Ken Kashuba. Hello, Ken. How you doing?
Hi, Dale. Doing fine. Yourself?
Just fine, just fine. A little louder there, Ken. All right.
We got you.
All right. Well, Ken, we got a heck of a show tonight, and we're already encountering some difficulties. We had two guests lined up this evening, and one of them can't get in. So the burden's going to fall on the other guest, but he's up for the task, I'm sure. So Ken will be, as usual, will be monitoring our comments and questions tonight. So if you're viewing either on Facebook or our YouTube channel, feel free to enter any questions you may have or comments as our live stream proceeds. So Ken, I always like to put up the numbers here. This is broadcast number 238, and you have been on board for 102 of those. So the numbers keep moving up, Ken.
Yeah, I like to see them keep moving up. That's what it's all about. So
Yeah,
we'll keep pushing forward. and
pushing
those
forward.
people that have internet problems, I mean, at this point, it is what it is. It's the internet. I guess
Yeah.
we could blame that on Al Gore, couldn't we? He fled into inventing it. So
Why not? Why not?
why not, right?
But I know we've got some inclement weather around the state right now, so
Very true.
I guess we can blame it on the weather, nothing else. Okay.
Yep.
So anyway, Ken, give us a little brief rundown, if you would, on that QR code up there and about becoming a subscriber. Okay.
Sure will. Yeah, that little QR code up there is going to make you a subscriber if you go ahead and scan that with your smartphone. And there are a lot of benefits to becoming a subscriber. Not only are you showing us your support, but we are adding, as we speak, we are adding a number of I'll call them perks and bonuses to becoming a subscriber that only a subscriber can get. So, for example, we are working on a brand new series called Meet the Founders, and that's an interesting new series by one of our faithful volunteers, and that is only going to be available through subscribers. So if you want to get some of these free bonuses, become a subscriber tonight. And I will also add that some people who maybe have trouble with QR codes, I'm going to put into the chat right now a link that you can use to also subscribe. So there's a top couple of ways you can get it.
Cool. Now, people have problems with QR codes. You weren't referring to me in any way on that, were you?
No, because
Right.
you already think that the QR code is something that's just up there for decoration or something.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew. Yeah. I'm getting more used to it more and more, though.
It's all over the place. It's all over the place.
Well, Ken, I want to bring on real quickly here. I want to bring on the debt clock. Can everybody see that? I want to make it a practice to bring this up on every broadcast, if at all possible. And sometimes we'll have Gary Harbaugh on, who is doing one of the series that Ken referenced called Debt Avalanche. But folks, this is addressing the national debt is one of the pillars of the Convention of States resolution. One of the reasons why we want to call a Convention of States, and that is to address the national debt. You can see we're at $34 trillion. And the last time I checked this, about every 10 seconds, this debt goes up $1 million. So it's just, as you can see, the numbers just keep climbing and climbing. We don't have time to go into depth on this, but I want to show this on every broadcast, every live stream, because I think it's important that we stay attuned to this, and I think it's a high priority in our country. There's just no doubt about it. So, Ken, I just wanted to I want to make it a practice to show that every broadcast and keep people aware of that. So
I think it's
okay,
important, Dave. I think that's important.
okay, good. Well, listen, I want to get into our topic tonight. This has been kind of a a troublesome topic for us, and I want to maybe troublesome's not the right term, but um, I want to preference this. Where our topic tonight is to get ready for the election in 2024. And this is an election year. There's no doubt about it. Everybody knows it, and it's going to get worse and worse as the year goes on. But I want people to understand why at COS we feel this is a topic that needs to be addressed. And the reason is that in one of our another one of the pillars of our resolution is to rein in the breadth and control of the federal government. Now that's kind of a wide topic, but there are three pillars to the resolution: addressing the national debt, term limits, and this third one is rein in the breadth and control of the federal government. And certainly holding and conducting fair and legitimate elections is so important. And obviously we all know that there were a lot of things that went on in the 2020 election, and it's kind of we've kind of lost sight of it. And I want to, being an election year, I want us to stay in touch and stay up on this issue. So what I've asked our guest tonight to do is to remind us of a few of the lessons that were learned from the 2020 election and how that can be applied then to the election coming up in 2024. So that's what we're going to be addressing tonight. And I'm going to introduce our guests here very soon. We were going to have two on, but it does not look like we're going to get both of them on here. So our one of the guests is going to carry the ball for us tonight, hopefully.
Susie looks like she's trying to get on, so we might just have her audio. We'll have to find out.
Okay, see how that goes. But before I introduce our guests, I was given this quote by this apparently is a person that is very much involved in the election activity that went on in 2020. And his quote is, "It takes people, paper, and programs to steal an election." So that was a quote from Jovan Pulitzer. So I'm sure our guests can explain this a little bit more. But our intention was to have two guests tonight, but apparently one of them is just not going to be able to connect with us. So I'm going to bring on our guest then tonight, and this is Mr. Ryan Free. Be sure to unmute yourself. There you go, Ryan. All right, thanks. And how you doing, Ryan?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And we were scheduled to have another guest tonight, a young lady that's very involved in election as kind of a contractor, I guess is what the best political consultant, perhaps, maybe is another term for her. But apparently we're not going to be able to get her connected tonight. So, Ryan, you're the man for tonight, so far at least. So, Ryan, tell us a bit about your background, how you're involved in elections, and uh, why we are considering you an expert tonight. Okay.
Well, my background is in IT. I've been an IT engineer, wireless engineer, for over 20 years, 20 plus years. I own multiple businesses here in the state of Indiana. I'm also a farmer. But my IT background and looking into what happened 2020, I've done extensive research, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys tonight.
Okay, great. Now, Ryan, I think you wanted to state a disclosure or
Yes, I just want to put out there that everything that I'm doing regarding election integrity research, I've done on my own. None of my companies are involved, no business partners. This is, my thoughts, my work, and if it's not my thoughts, it's what I'm regurgitating from the experts, basically.
okay. All right, good. Now, Brian, I keep wanting to call you Brian. I'm sorry. Ryan is from the Adams County area,
That's correct.
so located not too far from me. Quite honestly, I'm up in the Allen County area. But what we have identified tonight is about 5 different what we consider lessons from 2020. And folks, I'm telling you, and Ken, I know we haven't had a lot of time to talk about this, but this is a topic I find intriguing myself. And I've told Ryan this that since about 3 years has passed now since the election, and one would think that a lot of this has died out, and that so many of these issues are no longer really uh, uh, interesting or popular to talk about. But in my work with Ryan here in preparing for tonight, I'm learning that a lot of this stuff is still going on. A lot of this is. Am I correct in saying this, Ryan? That there's a lot still happening on this.
There is some breaking news I'll be able to share more towards the end of the broadcast as we get through our outline. But yeah, there for the longest time, everything was hidden. You couldn't, Google anything. People couldn't post about it on social media without it being taken down. To be in the know and to really know what's going on, it was quite tasking to know who to listen to, because there were a lot of misinformation, or people were stating things that just weren't true, and you really had to dig deep to figure out who you were going to listen to and why. And a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight, thanks to Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, he did the Arizona audit. His technology was used for that, and also Patrick Byrne. The country owes a great debt of gratitude to Patrick for what he's done, and we'll get into a little bit more of that later on.
Okay.
This evening.
Okay. All right. Now, I also want to state right at the beginning here that we have a few visuals that Ryan has provided to us, and I'll be showing those as we go through our discussion here. But there are a number of other visuals and links and so forth that he's going to mention in our talk tonight, but we're not going to have time to show everything. So if anything is of interest to any of our viewers tonight, and you would like us to send that link or that visual to you, please indicate that in an email to us, or indicate it not in an email. Send it to us, make a comment, submit a comment, and Ken will make note of that, and then we will email you that link or that visual after the broadcast is over. So So Ken, stay on the lookout for any requests of that nature. So let's get into then, without further ado, let's get into to our topics for tonight. And I might also mention, guys, if we don't get through everything tonight, we are definitely going to have Ryan come back again, and very possibly next Monday on the 8th. But we'll see how things go tonight, okay? All right. Let's go with our first topic on the outline. Now, again, we're talking about lessons that we learned or that are still in progress from the 2020 election, and what we can do and how we want to look at learn what we've learned or are learning from those lessons going into the 2024 election. And Ryan, I think the first one is dirty voter rolls.
That's correct. Basically, every state, every county, the voter rolls have been inflated, and they're just dirty. They need cleaned up. When you have inflated voter rolls, you have the ability to have phantom voters or people that you can place votes for, even though you hear about dead voters all the time, or people that have moved away but yet they still vote in the same state. People that were born, died, and voted. People that I'm going to say they died, were born, and then voted. The rolls are just horrendous. Or even Judicial Watch, before the 2020 election, sued the state of Indiana and Ohio to clean up their voter rolls. And again, this is we don't want this to sound negatively against any of our county clerks or anything like that, because a lot of this isn't in their control. I think we have a lot of work that we can do at the county level, but I want to put it out there that it's not our clerks that are causing any of these problems. It's motor voter. People go to get a driver's license. They ask you, do you want to sign up to vote? Coming in, they're given an ID card, which looks like a driver's license. And at that same time, they can be signed up to vote. Back to the Judicial Watch, when they sued, they're pretty much in it for the win, where they get the news headline saying, we sued the state of Indiana, we sued Ohio, and we got the court ruling, but there's nobody there in that organization that follows up to make sure that the state is going through the steps to clean everything up.
So now tell her, what's a phantom voter again? What is a phantom voter?
So a phantom voter is someone that does not exist. They could be someone that did exist, that moved away, someone that died and has voted, or it could be somebody with a totally made up name, where they have no known relatives, in the state with that same last name, and they voted.
Okay.
They found several different types of phantom voters, and what we found is a lot of these voters were injected into the state's databases by an algorithm. Now, this was discovered by Bobby Piton, but Dr. Douglas Frank made it more well known, where he put together graphs that were easily read. He's was part of the Lindell Cyber Symposium, and there's a link that will be in the email that Ken will be sending out, basically where they use the 2010 census along with a sixth order polynomial to inflate the voter registration database and create all these phantom voters.
Now, okay, now wait a minute. Now, I can, folks, I can remember this topic coming up in the 2020. Can you remember this, Ken? That
I do.
How it was the census from 2010. Is that what you said, Ryan?
Correct. 2020 census didn't exist yet, so they had to use the 2010 census.
Okay. And obviously, a number of those people no longer exist or moved away or whatever. But so they were sent ballots. Is that what we're saying? Or
they were injected into the voter registration database at the state level.
Okay. So someone could vote under their name then, huh?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Back when the states got hacked, basically the United States government, all of the states were hacked under the SolarWinds hack that took place, and it was noted as being the largest hack in U.S. history. We believe that's, if I'm understanding it correctly, that's when a lot of the voter registration databases were inflated.
Okay. Now, didn't you tell me? Didn't Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, he conducted a symposium on this, or was this one of the issues that he addressed?
Yeah, this was just one of the issues, and Dr. Frank was his guest speaker on this particular topic. Dr. Frank, also discovered the issue. Bobby Piton first discovered it. Dr. Frank had discovered it in his own way and was able to confirm everything that Bobby Piton had put out. And when you have mathematical geniuses and scientists confirming this, it's pretty disturbing.
Okay. So going into 2024, what can we do with regard to this particular issue?
With all of the laws that are on the books, that's what makes it so difficult to go in and clean up the voter registration database. They don't want to remove somebody that is supposed to be there legitimately, and it makes it very cumbersome to go through and try to weed all these, phantom voters and out of the database and to clean it up.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, in my opinion, where you about just need to wipe it out and start over. And
I've heard that. I've heard that said before. Yeah, I've heard that.
To where it kind of, in a sense, is a bit of a constitutional crisis. This has really never happened before.
So basically, it's continuing to pressure our representatives, our political legislators, to do something about this, to continue working to clean this up. Yes, then.
Right, and if they won't do it at the state level, I mean, it's something we need to do at the county level.
Okay, all right.
We have a viewer question, Ryan. If you wouldn't mind taking this question, it's from Certain Elf, who asks, "What information would someone have to make that hack, and who would have direct access to that information?"
So there are 3 different documents that are out there from CISA that talk about the machines, the software, and the hack itself. Because at first they came out saying most secure election ever. And then shortly after the election, more information, more proof was brought forward. And CISA put out the statement. Here are the vulnerabilities and everything. On the SolarWinds, there was a different document that I don't know that I have it out there, but they were basically getting in through, I believe it was VPN software, FTP VPN software that they were coming in through.
So a software out there that's supposed to be protecting your identity was being used as the way that they were hacking.
Right, they were using that to get in from my experience, at the county level and at the state level.
I see. Interesting.
It is, isn't it? The more he talks about these things, the more interesting it gets, quite honestly. And I know Ryan's trying to keep this as on the surface as much as possible so that we can understand what he's talking about. But
And we have one more question to add into there, Dale, if you don't mind.
okay.
We'll go ahead and throw up. Susan wants to know, is this a national issue or just Indiana?
It's a national issue.
National. I thought so.
Yeah.
Yep, it's everywhere. There's over 3,000 some counties, and I think all but a very, very tiny handful that are super tiny in size were hacked and inflated. In my area in Adams County, we have a very large Amish community, and when we look at the numbers of the 2010 census, that Amish community is included in that census count. When we go to look at the voter rolls from 18 to 99 or 100 years old, and we're looking at everything, basically everybody is registered to vote, and the Amish community does not vote. So it's kind of a big red flag, to where, and there are people that just don't vote. I know several people that they choose not to vote, and felons, they can't vote as either. So the numbers, the numbers don't lie.
All right. Okay. Next lesson learned has to do with mail-in ballots. Now, we don't do mail-in ballots in Indiana, right, Ryan?
To my knowledge, we do not do mail-in ballots. I know we do like absentee in military, to where they get a paper ballot. Even in Indiana, there are several counties that don't have a physical paper ballot. So with mail-in ballots, this is more for other states, and this is kind of primarily how they were able to steal 2020. If you have a mail-in ballot, you receive one in the mail, it's best just to hang on to it, do not open it, and go vote on voting day in person. And when you get there to sign in to vote, if they tell you that you've already voted and that your mail-in ballot was voted, verify with them that you're telling me that I've already voted, and the clerk says, yes, we're showing here you've already voted. Just step out of line, maybe go back to your car. At that time, you want to call your local sheriff's department and tell them that you want to speak to a deputy, or if they'll send the deputy out, and basically you want to report identity theft. And if the deputy gets there, take the deputy inside and speak to the poll worker and tell them, okay, they're telling me that I've already voted by my mail-in ballot and I've not voted. And at that time, you can pull out the sealed ballot to show the police officer and the poll worker that you have not voted. Your mail-in ballot is still in your hands. And then from there, the sheriff's department has the ability to investigate identity theft and to open up a case to dig further into what's going on.
Wow.
Interesting.
Do you know? Go on. I'm sorry.
I was going to say it's key that you do not open the ballot, that you leave it all sealed, and to verify that you are getting an actual ballot versus a form to fill out to get a mail-in ballot. They're two different things. A lot of times states will send out forms that you have to send back to request, and you want to make sure that it says it's an official ballot. And like I said, don't open it, just keep it handy in case they steal your vote.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do we know if there are any let's see, are there any counties using mail-in ballots at all in Indiana?
That I don't have information on. That would have been a question for Susie.
Yeah.
She would have had a little bit more information on that. To my knowledge, I believe everything is, again, unless you're military or you're going to be out of town to where you're going to do a provisional or, vote early. But as far as I know, I don't believe there are any other mail-in ballots.
Well, if you're requesting to vote absentee, you would be getting a ballot by mail, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. So that could happen then too. Okay. Moving on to lesson number 3. Ballot drop boxes.
And again, this is something that we're not necessarily going to see in Indiana, but has happened in other states, primarily swing states. When it comes to ballot drop boxes, I can't recommend enough for people to go and watch 2,000 Mules.
Yeah. I watched that. Did you see that, Ken? Did you watch that document?
Excellent document. Yeah.
Excellent documentary. Yes.
Yeah, and that's where they have over 4 million minutes of just video of people putting in multiple ballots into drop boxes, and they have an algorithm that they were running against their data collection to where somebody had to leave point A, go to a ballot drop box, and then return back to that same point, basically to get paid for dropping off the ballots. And they have, like I said, all these people doing it multiple times. In Atlanta, Georgia, they were showing 242 mules went to an average of 24 drop boxes. And in Philadelphia, there was more than 1,100 mules, to where this was when Joe Von Hutten-Polzer said it takes people in paper. These are the people in the paper that were distributing ballots to these drop boxes.
Yeah. One of the questions, another question that I asked of Ryan and Susie. Of course, Susie's unable to be with us tonight, but what's going to happen in 2024? Is it going to be? Are we going to be on? Do we need to be on the lookout for more of the same that we experienced in 2020, or are there some new tactics being developed? And Ryan, I think your answer to that question was, well, go ahead. What was your answer to that question?
And I even reached out to Joe Von Hutten-Polzer and asked him, are you hearing of anything new in the expert the expert circles where everyone's talking? And he said, no, it'll just be more of the same. There's no other new way that he's aware of to steal elections. It's just going to be more of what we already know.
I just think the ballot drop boxes was such an issue in 2020. I just wonder how that's going to be handled going into 2024. Of course, that's not an issue in Indiana, but certainly is in other states. So.
Correct. And the nice thing about 2,000 Mules, Greg Phillips and his team captured all of the cell phone ping data to be able to figure this out. So they know what organizations were paying to have this happen, and they know who the individuals were that were the mules. And I believe they were working with local sheriffs to provide that information. So when 2024 comes around, if there are drop boxes, hopefully there's a lot less mules on the street.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, the next next lesson learned from 2020 has to do with paper ballots. And I think now that I look at my notes, I think this was the area where I was asking if there are any counties in Indiana still using paper ballots, or any areas, and we don't know that, right?
Right. I don't want to say for sure. I'm sure there's a few that still have paper. It's my belief we need to go back to strictly just paper. But because a paper ballot, it's an official legal document. And in counties like Adams County, when I go to vote, I don't have a official piece of paper that's a legal document. I have a machine where I press a couple buttons and it prints it out on a receipt tape, and that's it. That's where I feel like we need to get back to paper and get away from the machines and the software, and we'll get into that here a little bit later on in the program.
Okay. All right. Now this is where this is very interesting, but you're going to show us a way that if you are in a county or a jurisdiction using paper ballots, you're going to show us how you can, as an individual, you can verify if that paper ballot is legitimate. Am I saying this right?
Under the right circumstances, provided you have a bright enough light, what you could possibly use the LED light from your cell phone. I've not tested this myself, but this is part of what they did in the Arizona audit. When you've seen them going through the different stages of looking at the ballots, on one of the stages, they had a very bright light behind the ballot, and then they were snapping a picture with a high resolution digital camera. And if you want to go ahead and put the first item up there.
Yeah. Can you see that all right? That's
right. So what we're looking at in the dark black, imagine having a hunting rifle scope, and the very center is that plus sign that's kind of blurry. So that dark ink is on the front side of the paper. That plus sign is on the back side of the paper. So what this is telling you is that the printer that printed this ballot was in calibration, meaning that the ovals on the back and the text and everything on the front is exactly how the ballot is supposed to be.
And that red, that looks like a red dot on your screen, but that's the sign.
Right, that's the very center.
That's the very center. That means that it's a good ballot, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now are you watching this, Ken?
I'm watching.
Okay.
So now when we're looking at this ballot here, this is a ballot that was printed out of calibration. So whatever company that was printing this, every ballot that came off that printer leaves a unique signature, because that plus sign is going to be there in the bottom left-hand quadrant, and that's going to be 3,600% out of calibration, or some huge number like that, to where it's not even in the ballpark. It's so far out in left field, it's in a different zip code, basically. Okay. And what that's telling us is that the text on the front of the ballot and the text on the back of the ballot is now off. They're not lined up. They are just completely off.
So what does that mean? That means that ballot cannot be read, right?
So when they go to put that through the machine to scan it in to count your votes, a couple things can happen. One, it can't read it, so it's going to put it into an adjudication file. and then a human has to look at it and decide how that ballot was supposed to be voted. The other thing that can happen is the ovals that you fill out are now not going to be where they're supposed to be, and they can put settings into the machine to where, say, a oval for Joe Biden only has to be 25% filled in to count, and a ballot for or an oval for Donald Trump has to be 75% filled in. And when you have those ovals and now they're going to be shifted and they're going to be off, it's going to throw the system to where the machine's programmed to only do what it knows to do, and it may not vote the ballot or force it to adjudication. Same with Sharpie Gate that we've kind of heard about. If you vote with a Sharpie, it creates a bleed through. So then when it bleeds through, you have your votes on the front, your votes on the back, and it was double counting votes. It was kind of a paper hack. So if you do vote on paper, use a blue or black ink ballpoint pen. Do not use a marker. Do not use a Sharpie. Do not use pencil. There's so much with paper. If it was a mail-in ballot, obviously there's going to be folds and creases in it. We've seen a lot of suspect where there was stacks of paper that were supposed to be mail-in ballots and they were perfectly flat.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we have Susie has been able to get online, and she wants to add something here to the conversation. Susie is the other guest, wasn't able to get through on the internet tonight, but she says we have approximately 25 to 28 counties that use paper ballots, but machine tabulation in Indiana.
Huh.
So that's where we're using paper. They're feeding them into the tabulator, and it's counting the votes.
Interesting.
Thank you, Susie.
Yeah. Too bad Susie would have some real good information for us tonight. Maybe we can get her on later. But so that answers that question about there are other counties utilizing paper ballots then. Okay.
One other quick item on paper ballots. It's going to be a heavier textured paper. And if you were to rip the paper, you're going to notice that it has long fibers in the paper. It's nothing like our copier paper or office paper that we use day to day in the office. Ballot paper is a very special paper. There's also MIC codes or machine inserted color codes in the paper, but I don't have examples of that with us tonight, and I won't go down that rabbit hole. But
All right.
there's a lot more that we can go into, and we're 45 minutes into the broadcast already.
Yeah. Okay. I want to try and wrap up on this last topic here, and let's try and get this in, because this is another interesting one, and again, a lesson learned from 2020, and this one you can exercise yourself going into the 2024 election. But this has to do with the Wi-Fi networks and software. Okay. Now, go ahead and start talking about this, Ryan, and I'm going to bring up this first one from Adams County that you provided, okay, with the poll pad network.
All right. When you're in line waiting to vote, I would recommend people to pull their cell phone out, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, and just scan the wireless networks to see if there's any wireless network available, in the precinct, in that building where you're at. And chances are, if you sign in with a poll pad on an iPad, which is a poll pad, you're going to see this pop up where it says poll pad Wi-Fi. And what I would do is I would just screenshot that with your phone just to document that while you were there, that network was broadcasting, and it was available for devices to connect to. Granted, it is a quote unquote secured network, but any wireless network can be hacked with the right tools and the right software. And the big problem here is they tell us that there is no internet connection, the devices aren't online, but we go there and we see this for ourselves. We know that there is a internet connection in the building and it is coming from the pole pad. Now, if they would go in and turn this feature off so it's not broadcasting a signal, that would be better than leaving it on, because then, again, it's got a connection right out to the internet.
So the key is here, if they're not supposed to be connected to the internet, right?
Right. But yet we're seeing election equipment that is broadcasting a signal that other devices can connect to get online. So that's another one from Adams County. One was taking in 2022, and I believe the other one was 2020, even though it said 2018. I believe it was the 2020 election.
Okay.
But and there's one more. So those two are from Adams County, and when I had discovered this, I had actually sent Susie a text message and had her do a screenshot of the precinct that she was at. And there again, you can see pole pad Wi-Fi secure mobile. And, we shouldn't be seeing these. This should not be out there, but yet they are. So that's an issue that I think needs to be resolved. But again, something to look at to see if it's out there in 2024.
So this is what you, as an individual standing in the precinct, getting ready to vote, you can just look at your phone and see if there's an internet connection there that's not supposed to be there.
Right.
It's just I think it's just so important that people understand that these are things that they can do. These are things that they can do. Well, Brian, there I go again. Ryan, let's kind of wrap this up here, okay? Because I do want to bring you back on again as the year progresses on here, because this election topic is going to get hotter and hotter as the year goes on. But I think for tonight, you've certainly laid some great groundwork for us. So again, these are our lessons that we learned from 2020, and things that we can do going into the 2024 election. Now, I know you've got some other things that we're not going to be able to show tonight. You want to briefly talk about some of the other documentation that you have that we can provide people if they want, if they request?
Right now, there's going to be a link called "Is This the Last Hurrah of Patrick Byrne?" and it's going to be on Rumble. I would recommend everybody watch that. Patrick is going to drop a lot of information. Some people will just take it with a grain of salt, but what they need to learn or know is that Patrick was tapped by, I believe it was the House Judicial Committee, and he was appointed by both Democrats and Republicans to find and root out corruption within the United States government. Patrick was the former CEO of Overstock.com, and he has been known to do things when it comes regarding peace between nations and things of that nature, and that led to him getting tapped to find corruption. So right now there is the Kerry Lake case that's in the Supreme Court. We're waiting for the Supreme Court to actually accept that case. And it's a no-brainer. Basically, Patrick has all of the all the goods on the voting machine companies, the software companies, where the software that was ran in a lot of the swing states, I know for sure Arizona and I believe Georgia, um, they lied about the accuracy of the software. They are using corrupt software that has, let me find my notes here. So they faked the certification. They did not do the logic and accuracy tests, and the software contained cloaked scripts to where the master keys for to access these voting machines was hidden in plain text in 3 different places, and we're basically going to be seeing a constitutional crisis arise here because the 2020 and 22 elections were basically ran on uncertified software. So that's kind of the groundbreaking news that I had mentioned earlier in the broadcast. The people to kind of keep an eye on and listen to their telegrams, their Rumble, locals, all their social media is going to be Sheriff Darleaf and Stephanie Lambert, which is the lawyer for Patrick Byrne, and Patrick himself. So,
Okay.
yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. There's going to be a lot coming in the links. And again, I just kind of skid across the top of everything, but I encourage everyone to go out there and to follow Joe Von Hutton Pulitzer, Patrick Byrne, Sheriff Darleaf, and Stephanie Lambert. And we're going to probably see history made here in our lifetime.
All right. All right. Well, Ryan, I want to thank you. I'm sorry we don't have more time to go into further into the weeds with you this evening, but we'll bring you back again as the year progresses. And because like I said, this is going to be a hot topic all year long. So, Ryan, thank you very much for your time this evening. And
thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll see you again, I'm sure.
All righty. Thanks,
Thank
Ken.
you.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you. Wasn't that interesting, Ken?
Well, Dale, I'm all for, as everybody knows, we're all for self-governance. We're all for states having their own ability to run their state the way they see fit. But there's a couple things about this that I think it would be great if it was just if it was a thing that every state had to at least agree to having one state IDs. I think state IDs should be in place in every state, in every voting place. And then, if the way things are looking, we might as well go back to the way some of these third countries, do their voting. If you've got a state ID and you show up, you get a hand stamp, and then you voted. And at this point, I'd be all for hand stamp, state IDs, and 1 day of an election, and then
Yeah.
the special forces and people that need those absentee ballots. There's a way of doing it, but we have to get away from this multi software, machine, and it's just there's just too many avenues for fraud.
It is.
That's my view.
All right. Okay. Well, let's kind of wrap things up here then, Ken, for tonight. Next week, April 8th, we're looking at bringing on our constitutional expert, Debbie Stewart, and for her to do a segment for us. And thought we would show another series on the debt avalanche. And I think you've put together a promotional video on Meet the Founders, right?
Yes, I did. Yes. Uh-huh.
So we'll get into that next Monday as well. So should be a good live stream coming up next Monday. Our roundtable for April is coming up on April 22nd. And the topic we've already decided is censorship in America. So that ought to be a very interesting topic too. Hope everyone can tune in to our roundtable next, or be April 22nd. And you know, Ken, I think we're running close on time, but I'm going to go ahead and play this. We have a soapbox from our state director, Dale Tipton. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. And then I'll go into, we'll sign off and I'll go into our closing video from Mark Meckler. Okay.
One more thing I might mention just before, because we won't have another chance to do this. Just another reminder to people who will be watching the ever-present eclipse next week. Put on those eye goggles. Don't watch this with your bare eyes.
Good reminder. Thank you.
Reminder.
Good reminder. Okay, let's take a look at Dale Tipton here, and he's getting on a soapbox here.
This is Dale Tipton with Convention of States. Our southern border, and really all of our borders, are a mess because the executive branch of our government is failing to do their duty in enforcing the laws that have been established to make sure that our borders are secure. Due to this development and the fact that so many unvetted people have entered our country on an illegal basis, we now face an unprecedented terrorism threat within our country, perhaps even greater than 9/11. As a former federal law enforcement officer, I pay attention to national security type items in the news. Al-Qaeda is resurgent in Afghanistan and are sharing rule in some provinces with the Taliban. Thousands upon thousands of military-aged Chinese men have come across the southern border. People from 160 different countries, many of which are not friendly to the United States, have sent people here, and it's estimated that 8 to 9 million people have come across our southern border in the last 3 years. This creates a threat matrix that is unprecedented. Many people are speaking out about it, trying to make people aware. But as a member of the Convention of States family, I would seek the opportunity to prepare yourselves in each of your homes, as I am doing. Think about the food, medicine, other things that you may need in case the supply chains were disrupted. Nobody knows what kind of an attack it might be, or even if there will be one, but the table is certainly set for it to occur. Take care, my friends, and be prepared. That's the message today. And thank you for all you do. Bye-bye.
I struggle to empathize with people who would give up. It doesn't make sense to me. Sam Adams said, for those of you who prefer safety and security over liberty, over the animating fight for liberty, I hope that you enjoy licking the hands that feed you. May your chains rest lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you are our countrymen. Like, do you understand that your kids, and you are sentencing your kids and your grandkids and your friends' kids and your neighbors' kids to a lifetime of slavery and servitude, literally, of fear, of living in the darkness, but never, ever, never, never, never give up. George Washington lost the majority of his battles that he fought in the American Revolution. If you read his writings, if you read the letters where he was writing to Congress asking for money and troops, he was saying, we're losing. I don't have the troops I need. I don't have the supplies I need. Did he quit? What about the guys on the beach at Normandy? Like, what did they do? Did they just quit? Oh, there's, a lot of guys are dying around me. It's really bad. It looks really dismal. Those cliffs are huge. Machine gun fire raining down on us. And it's too hard. We should just quit. Thank God those people didn't quit. If they had, where would we be? I get discouraged, for sure. And I will quit fighting at some point. And that point is when the first shovel of dirt hits the top of my box 6 feet down.